So we are releasing 3 new powerful features. 1, custom fields as variables. 2, contextual syntax for your variables. And 3, fully customizable headers for your proposals, invoices, and contracts. I'm going to dive deep into all of these features right now. I'm going to show you what they are, how you're going to use them, especially the conditional syntax, because it's a bit technical, but it's very, very powerful. And it will open heaps of new options and possibilities for you when creating templates. Okay, so let's dive in. I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. First things first, we are going to talk about custom fields. Now, we've been working really hard on custom fields to make them more powerful. So far, you have been able to customize Plutio to work your way using custom fields. You can create tags, priorities, anything you can imagine for your tasks, projects, invoices, I mean, even forms. You can create custom fields for almost anything on Plutio. However, you weren't able to use these custom fields in your proposals or contracts as dynamic variables. But now this is about to change, and I'm going to show you how. So first of all, we have a brand new custom fields settings page, which makes it easier for you to create custom fields and customize them. I'm going to go to settings, and I'm clicking on custom fields. Here, you'll be able to see the new custom fields, a new custom field option called workspace field. So before, if you want to add your company's VAT number or registration number or any additional details that Plutio didn't have a default field for, you would use a section called additional details or additional information. That section was available in, if you go to settings, workspace details, it used to be somewhere around here. It's called additional details. But here we used to have, we basically replaced it with custom fields now. So there is no longer default additional fields. You have to create a custom field to add those fields. And we've already converted whatever additional fields you had before to custom fields now. So you don't have to worry about adding them again. But moving forward, you have to use custom fields to add additional details to your workspace, as well as anything else on Plutio. Going back to the custom fields page, from settings, custom fields, and I'm going to click through to one of them. So I'm going to click through to, say, the proposal one, or actually one that I already created, task. So here we have a priority. You will see something here is different. So we've redeveloped or redesigned this page to make it easier for you to know all the options that this custom field has. So now we added an identifier, and I'm gonna tell you later on why this is important. The new ID. So each custom field now has a unique ID that you can copy from this page here. And here you can see the options of that custom fields and the new field settings. So you can show the custom field by default when you're creating a profile or an invoice or a proposal. So you don't have to sort of double click like adding the custom fields and then adding the option to the custom field. You can just straight in, add an option to that custom field, fill it in straight away. And other options like allowing you to add more custom fields as on the go. So you are inside the proposal, you want to add a new custom field, you don't have to go to the settings page to add it, you can add it on the go, etc. However, now I'm going to show you how you're going to use custom fields as variables. Now remember, this ID is important because we have to go back to it so we can call this a particular custom field. I'm going to go ahead to an invoice. I'm going to upgrade it a new invoice here. Okay, so something you would notice straight away right now, this is quite different than what you used to. It looks a little bit messy, but let me explain why. So basically, the default headers and invoices, proposals, etc., used to be hard-coded. You couldn't really edit it, you couldn't customize it, you couldn't add text to it. But now it's fully customizable. You can resize the logo however way you want. You can add more details, you can add spacing, you can add more variables, more content, you can change the invoice title to say maybe, for example, tax invoice. Some countries like Australia need that on the invoices to make it legal. So now headers, default headers are fully customizable, even these boxes right here. Now, I'm going to show you how to add a custom field as a variable. So you click on this plus icon here, or you simply type this symbol from your keyboard, and it will show up the list of available variables. And if you scroll a little bit down, you will find, so company registration number and VAT are actually custom fields that I've created for this workspace. And tag, estimates are custom fields are created for a project. So I've just created this estimate custom field for a project. Now I'm going to add it to this proposal. I'm going to just click on estimate, and now it's added. You will notice here the ID. So the project is basically the variable, and then custom, and then the ID of that custom field. So what's going to happen now, I'm going to show you a preview. So I'm going to preview this. So there is nothing because I haven't set the custom field on the invoice. But if I go, on the project. So now if I go back to the project and set a custom field on the project, the custom field will be shown on the invoice. So let's say tomato bakery, I'm going to go to overview, and I'm going to set a custom fields here. It's set to 1 day. Now I'm going to assign this invoice to the project. As you can see, it shows the custom field value. So if I go back to the project here and I change that to 5 days, this will now change to 5 days. So this is fantastic because now you can create sort of dynamic way of doing things, and you can add these custom fields all over your templates. And when you when you assign certain custom fields to your project, invoice, or proposal, you can show different content as well. I'm going to show you how to do that now. So just to clarify, I'm going to one more time go through how to add a custom field as a variable to your proposals, invoices, contracts, or anything else. So I'm going to make it simpler, and I'm going to add a custom field directly to the invoice. So I'm going to go to settings first. I'm going to go to custom fields. I'm going to click on invoice fields. I'm going to create a new one. Let's say call it just test for the sake of testing. And it's an input, so I can just enter something very simple. Or actually a drop down. I'm going to add 2 options. Option 1, option 2. Now I'm going back to my invoice. Well, it's an invoice template, and I'm going to add it here. So what I'm going to do is choose the invoice custom field I've just added, which is test. And now what is going to happen is when I preview it, so obviously nothing's going to show because the custom field isn't set. So I'm going to go here, add a custom field test, which I've just created, and choose which option, 1 or 2, and then preview, and it will be shown here as well. So this is how you can use custom fields as variables on anything. Now, conditional syntax for variables is a new powerful feature that will just give you heaps of new options and customization options, especially when it comes to templates. So I'm going to add a new content block here to make things so we can start from scratch and make things clearer for you. So what I want to do here is, let's say I want to show the client name, so client first name, okay? But I want to say something like, hey, client name. And if client name isn't set, for example, for any reason, it can be any other variable, but for the sake of giving you an example, I want to say, hey, client name. Obviously, client name is a dynamic field, so it's a variable. So it will only show, and it will only show to if I have set the client name on a proposal or the invoice. So by now, if I preview this, only hey will show, not the client name. If I set the invoice to a client and preview, it will show the client name, of course. But what I want to do here is I don't actually want to show hey at all if the client name isn't set. So if there is no client name here, if there is no value set to that variable, I don't just want to show hey because it looks broken or unprofessional. So I just want to hide it completely if the variable is not set. And you can actually do that right now. Let me show you how. So in the Help Center, help.pluto.com, if you click on everything else and then click on conditional syntax, you will have a detailed instructions of how to do that. But of course, I'm going to show you that in a video here. So we're going to be using the if condition. So I'm going to copy this from here. I'm going to go back here, second line, just to make things clearer. Let me just clear this up. Okay, so if the variable name here, so I'm going to copy this. This is the variable. is set. So hey goes here, then also show this. So what have I done? What did I do here? Look, first of all, I'm going to show you how it's going to work now. So hey shouldn't actually show at all because no client name is set. But now if I go back to 2 and set it to a client, preview, now hey Sarah showed because there is a variable, the variable has a value set, so it will show hey. Now, what did I actually do? So first I added the conditional syntax, which is if. So this is how you open it up. So this is the opening of the wrapper, and then this will be the end of the wrapper. So whatever is inside here will show, but you have to make sure you add the variable name right here. So make sure there's space here and there's space here. And where you can find that is you can simply now type this, and then you can choose the variable. So it can be, an email, for instance. So if I type email here, then it will just make sure you remove these from there. So that's how it should look like. So you open it up, if, then the variable name goes here, and then whatever is here will show if the variable is set or has value. So now I'm going to put this back to first name to follow the example. And then I can add the content that I want to show here. So hey, I want to show it only if the variable is set. And then I can also add this if I want to right here. So basically wrap the content that you want to show if this particular value is set or variable is set. Now, there is also advanced ways of using this. So there is a way where you can, instead of showing certain type of content, you hide it if the variable has a value. And there's another one where you basically have an else function. So basically, you show this type of content if the variable has value, or you show this type of content if the variable doesn't have any value, using the else or unless. So you can dive deep into these options, advanced options, and play around. Now remember, this is actually not only for text. You can use any type of content. So wherever you wrap in here will be shown up, but it works on anything else. So I can, for example, add, let's just give you an example. I can add a table, okay? So here's a table. And I'm going to show this table if it can be any variable, but for this example, if the client's first name is set, then show the table. And if it's not set, then hide the table. So now the client name is actually set. So if I preview, the table will show, and cancel preview. Now I'm going to remove the client, and now the variable doesn't have any value. So when I preview, the table is gone. It's not going to show. So this can be really, really powerful. You can show all kind of content or hide any kind of content, depending if a particular value has a particular variable has value or not. And this can be used with custom fields. So you can just give an example. You can create a custom fields for your proposal that says something like, timescale or project type. If the project type is a logo design, for example, let's say you have 2 project types, logo design and website design. And using custom fields, you can assign project type to the proposal. You can say this proposal is for a project type logo design. Then using custom fields and conditional syntax, you can show a logo design content block. And if the other way around, if it's web design, then it will show the web design block instead. So it's very dynamic, and it's just powerful. So I hope you find this very, very useful. We covered the new custom fields and how to use them as variables. We've covered the conditional syntax, and now I also covered the new customizable headers for your proposal and invoices. So you can customize the header completely. But one thing that a lot of people ask for, I'm going to just go through it right now before we end this workshop, is the ability to customize the way an address shows. So before when you add an address, we had a hard-coded way, a default way of showing it. It was all in one line. But now we added variables for each of the address lines. So now you can add the whole address completely like that, or you can choose to add street first. You can add a comma or add space or add a new line and then add another. here we go. So I added street first and then the city comes after, and maybe next to it, I want to add the country and then another line, and I want to add the postcode. So you can customize the address, the way the address show as well now. So this is everything for this update. I really hope you find this useful. And if you have any questions, you can always reach us via the built-in live chat, which is accessed from the help icon right here. Click send us a message, and then you can talk to one of us. And again, from the Help Center, you can now access the new help articles for variables and mapping fields, as well as the conditional syntax for variables. So these two are the new that we've just created, and it will give you heaps of information on how to get started and more details on how to use the advanced conditional syntax. Now, this is it for today's video, but stay tuned because in a matter of few weeks, we'll be launching an exciting new feature